Hello and welcome to the next episode of Roy B. the Middleman podcast. And today's special guest is Renae of Hello, Hi, I'm Healing. Is that correct? Or did I get that wrong?
Hello, I'm healing.
Hello, I'm Healing. There we go. And what we're going to talk about today is Renae's journey through illness, through COVID, I believe, and down in Melbourne and everything else around that. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, great. So, well, I'm always one to get straight into it. And so it was cancer that you have battled, correct?
Yes. So I got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of blood cancer, in November 2021. So I've just hit a year since my diagnosis.
Oh, wow, that's very recent.
Yeah.
So how's that going? Like, where are you at with that now?
Yeah, so I'm in complete remission, which is incredible. I done 6 rounds of chemotherapy and I kind of just got in the trenches and fought the war and came out the other side, and I'm thriving now. I have no symptoms after my cancer treatment, which is great. I am recovering extremely quickly, which is great. My hair's growing, and to be honest, it feels like I have never had it.
Wow, that's beat in a year.
Yep. It's been a wild year, and I think it was a great journey. Like, I'm very grateful for that experience, and I think I needed to go through it, and I'm in a really good place around it.
So, what was actually going on leading up to the initial diagnosis?
Yeah, so if I look back at it, I lived in Melbourne at the time, so we had pretty much done 2 years of very intense lockdown, and we were looking at moving to the ocean and doing all of these things, and I was in a workplace where around the time, or 6 months prior to my diagnosis, I had a massive change in management, and I was a PA at the time, and the person who came in, who I was being a PA for, did not like me. And so, my work environment became very, very toxic. And I just felt like, to be honest, even when I got diagnosed, I was still training 6 days a week. I had no symptoms. I just got a lump in my throat, and it kind of took me by surprise, because in my world, I was living a life that doctors would praise. I was very healthy. I was super active. I ate really clean. I was pretty much getting rid of all the toxins in our life and in our household. I was very in tune with my mindset and all of these things that doctors praise and say, oh, you're living such a great life. And so when I got diagnosed, I was like, this can't be true. There's no way this is happening to me. And I'm not sure if I understand the reasoning as to why yet. I believe that there's multiple reasons as to why it happened.
Yeah, for me, the first thing I noticed was the one thing wasn't clear was the toxicity at work.
Yeah.
Might get into that later. Yeah, so it just shows there, for those that are listening and watching, it just shows that cancer is just like one of the things that such a big teacher that, however, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, in your scenario, it wasn't really a health thing.
Yeah, I don't believe it was a health thing. And even when I asked the doctors, like, is there anything I could have done? Like, I've done everything right. And the response was, it's just bad luck.
Yeah, so they didn't recommend that you leave work.
So it's just bad luck. I did end up leaving work during my treatment because I just couldn't stay there. That was not a place for me to stay and be poisoned with chemotherapy.
Yeah, no, exactly, true. And so how was the chemotherapy journey? Because there's a lot of stigma around that as well. And how did you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you hear the words, you have cancer, there's this society expectation that it's going to be a really dark, really hard battle. And not to take away from the people that do have that, because I totally can respect that people do have that. For me, that was just never an option. And dying was never an option. And so I went into it being like, let's go. Like, I've got this. And I told myself every day that I was cancer-free.
Yeah, there's a bit of a mindset hit for those watching that are maybe battling cancer right now. And yeah, well, that's fantastic. Well, that's probably why you beat it in a year.
Yeah, and I just believed it. Like, I embodied it. I believed it. I sat in that feeling of I don't have it. I done meditations every single day of walking out of my last round of treatment. And when I did walk out of my last round of treatment at the end of March, I was like, oh, I've been here every day for the last 105 days. Like, this is normal to me because I've been here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the actual journey of chemo, don't get me wrong, there were days where it was really hard, and I had a few weeks in there and a few rounds that I was like, oh gosh, like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, I know that I can do this. I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
And
we can't have a strong mindset every day, eh?
Absolutely.
We're allowed off days.
And I think that's just important to remember and to acknowledge that it's completely normal to feel all of your emotions, and it's so important that you feel all of them because you can't suppress them. And I mean, just even when you're not sick, you have emotions, and it's important to feel them.
Yeah, and we do have without cancer and that, we have off days that we just don't want to get out of bed and just go, oh, I can't be bothered with life today.
Mm-hmm.
It is normal.
Absolutely.
And so did you get to meet people that were having a different journey to you through the chemo? Like, was you in rooms with others and make friends and that kind of thing?
No. So it was very, very isolating, and it was isolating due to COVID.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, wow.
So imagine being diagnosed during a pandemic and you've got this illness that is already very dark, and all of a sudden you're told that you pretty much have to do it by yourself. And you can't have anyone come in with you. You can't have anyone come into your appointments. And the day that I found out, I sat in the room all by myself. Mind you, I'd just turned 29, so I was young.
Mm.
And I sat in the room all by myself while they told me that I had this illness. And they said to me, do you have anyone with you? And I was like, no, of course I don't have anyone with me. I'm not allowed to have anyone with me. Like, what are you talking about? And they were like, oh, would you like to call someone? And after that, I was very fortunate that I had a phenomenal specialist. I'm so grateful for him. He's bloody incredible. He's so lovely, and he always let my partner come into our specialist appointments. Although when I was doing my chemo rounds, I sat by myself and they kept distance from people, because when you're being poisoned, which that's all chemo is, it's poison.
Radiation poison.
Yep. You're obviously more, or they say that your immunity is a lot lower. And so the chance of infection and getting illness from other people and things is a lot higher. And when every single cell in your body is literally being burnt, it is a higher chance of you getting something else.
Well, the radiation's killing your immune system.
Exactly.
Which is what they want.
Yeah.
But we won't go into Western medicine and their nefarious ways, or shall we? Because it's my show, I can do what I like.
You can do whatever you want.
I can do whatever I like. I've got my own beliefs that, because I'm an energy healer, a Reiki master and energy healer, so I've got my own ways and methods of over a decade of scientific data, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Of seeing people release illness without any medicine, without any intervention from pharmaceuticals, release from big stuff, including cancer, including toxicity in the liver, gallstones, everything. And that's just in my journey, let alone all the stories from other energy healers that have got their own versions and healed other people from stuff. And it's just what you're ready to release can be let go of. And with mindset and energy work, it's far more powerful than people give it credit for. It's getting better. Like, Reiki is very mainstream these days. But people tend to go for Reiki just to kind of walk away feeling light and bubbly, and rather than for a specific reason or a disease and stuff like that. But it's got that, energy healing's got that capability. If you look into the history of Reiki, it's the three miracles of Reiki, where he healed his, it was only small stuff, healed his ankle, healed the lady in the at the tavern that he went to get some food and was able to eat food after 21 days without any issues. I know it doesn't sound big stuff, but this was happening in the early 1900s, before any of all the medical data or anything like that. So, it's powerful back then, it's powerful now, and there's other people are adding their own methods into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about power of belief, and if you can help instill that into the person that you're working with. You know, you showed with your story already that, to me, what beat most of it was the mindset.
Absolutely. And I truly, truly believe that my mindset was what got me through. And it's also the pivotal moment that has allowed me to heal so quickly. And just to take it and embrace it and allowed it to take that pain that was, and just, it's completely given me purpose.
Yeah. So explain again with the version you had and where that sits in the body.
Yeah, so it is a blood type of a blood cancer, and it sits in and it stems in your lymph nodes. So for me, it appeared in my neck or like in my throat, and it actually grew inwards. So when I opened my mouth, you could physically see it.
Wow.
Yeah, and we watched it change. And so from the day that the lump appeared, I was diagnosed within 10 days.
Oh,
So
that helps.
very, very quickly. And we watched it change and evolve. And after the biopsy, I was like, oh, it's like half the size. And then it grew back with a vengeance. And I'm not a smoker. I don't drink alcohol. Like, again, very.
You're no fun.
I'm still a fun person, I promise. You know, again, I do these things that are textbook healthy or considered textbook healthy. And it honestly looked like what you see on a cigarette packet. Like, it was just black and angry, and yeah, it was really gross actually.
So I'd like to challenge you on a different angle, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So we're doing all the healthy things. Was there any stress behind that? Like holding yourself accountable for the healthy eating, the exercise, and because that you can have that version of it as well. Like, you know, when I was disciplined playing sport, because I love sport, it didn't feel like I was exercising. So I wasn't pushing my body, even though I was pushing my body at the time, doing martial arts and soccer, and you know, 6 days out of 7 I was training or playing or competition stuff. So was there any stress through pushing your body in for the health, fitness stuff?
I mean, it didn't feel like it, if I'm being honest. I was never doing it to change my body. I was doing it because of pure enjoyment.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, it was never about image for me. It was all about just the endorphin of doing exercise. And I loved the feeling of feeling strong. Like, I loved that feeling.
Okay.
And so I don't believe it was.
Yeah, no, so, you know, I like to ask because it's finding out where it actually came from. And so then, you know, it's interesting that it was on your throat and you was a PA at work.
I know. And I was definitely not standing up for myself and speaking, which is my throat chakra. So it's very interesting. I'm like, oh, what a coincidence, not.
and the fact that it was growing so you could see it, so it was almost blocking your throat. Mm-hmm. So that's, to me, the way I see the world is that's a very powerful message of teaching you how to speak up.
Yeah. And I definitely speak up now. I mean,
that's why you're on a podcast.
Yeah, and I run my own. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I run a podcast called Hello, I'm Healing, and it's all about bringing light to medical experiences and medical trauma. I'll put that in inversions. Medical traumas in young people, because the thing is that, yes, it happens, unfortunately, and it doesn't have to be dark, and it doesn't have to be scary, and it doesn't have to be this moment that completely breaks you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be feared.
It's interesting because, like, you see so many videos of the young kids that have cancer, and that they don't do it dark.
No.
They do it joyfully, and they don't, you know, it's fascinating to see that it's only the adults that tend to do it dark. Life experience, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like, without like categorizing, I feel like it's the old adults. Yeah. Most of the people, like, because I connected in a Facebook group that was really, really beautiful, and that group was beautiful. What's sad about it is there's over 800 members in Australia, and just females that have had cancer. And it's between the ages of 19 and 35, and there's over 800 members in there.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, like, And so it's just shedding a light on that. And I talk everything that's really taboo and uncomfortable, because it's 2022 and it should not be taboo and uncomfortable anymore.
Nothing should be.
No.
No,
So
get everything to the surface, talk about it,
yeah.
understand it, make sense of it, let
And
it go.
that's the only way that we can break taboo topics, is by talking about them.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of my, because, you know, with my podcast, because it's very spiritually based, it is about the taboo topic. Well, they're not taboo, but, you know, some of the things I've experienced being an energy healer, and that people probably back away from going, oh, you know, because we're so indoctrinated with the Western medicine that we don't think there's anything. It's called alternative medicine, yet it was around far longer than before Western medicine. It's original medicine. It's what was used long before chemicals came into the show, which I saw a stat the other day that said every pharmaceutical product has a side effect.
Yeah.
Everyone. That can't be right. Not as in the stats right, but as in, like, you know, it's like,
It's crazy.
Take that in.
Yeah. So because during my treatment, I opted for both modern medicine and holistic medicine as such. And, you know, so many people have kind of questioned it. I was doing acupuncture and that the whole way through my treatment. And again, I had some side effects, but they were so mild. And yeah, I was just, again, I do put it down to my mindset, but the acupuncture was phenomenal. And I just like, you source other ways. And I did do a Reiki session with a friend of mine who's also a Reiki healer. So
Reiki, Reiki healers, yeah.
And I done that halfway through my treatment, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it basically flushes your body with light, and anything you're ready to release. On a very, very simplistic way of how Reiki works, the Reiki master or the Reiki healer just channels energy. So we don't do the healing.
Yeah.
I mean, no energy healer technically does the healing. As much as, you know, I'll say I'll do a healing, it's more for ease of explanation rather than stating that's what I'm doing. I'm just a channel. I'm the channel for the energy to flow, to be directed or let it flow. I'm just a channel. And for me, the more you practice and the more you've got belief in yourself, the bigger the channel you become.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, cancer is, my grandma's had cancer. She had breast cancer 13 years ago now, and she had radiation, and she's living her best life. Like, she's still alive. She's 80 something. I think she's like almost 85 if she's not 85. She's living her best life. She's so healthy. She's literally one of the healthiest people I know. Whereas her daughter, my auntie, also had breast cancer and unfortunately didn't make it.
Yeah.
And the mindset between the three of us is so different. Like, I swear I'm a clone of my grandma, which is a great thing, especially now that my hair's very short and very dark. As it grows back, I look exactly like her. And yeah, my aunt was not that.
Yeah. So for those listening and watching that are having challenges with the cancer, then mindset.
Yeah.
Work on the mindset. Because it is like, well, look, there's plenty of evidence out there that our thoughts create our reality. And if you think negatively, you attract negative things. You think positively, you attract positive things. And it's just a habit and a chemical process really that can be changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know, like, I feel like so many people live in the comparison game. They go, oh, my story's not sad enough, or they had it worse than me.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say I was definitely guilty of that. I had my pains as a child, and I've had some awful things that I've witnessed. And I always said, oh, someone has it worse than me. It's okay. And then I got this, and my first response was, well, it's not terminal. Someone has it worse than you. And then I was like, snap out of that. Like, your pain doesn't matter. Like, you can't compare pain because we all feel it differently.
Illnesses is relative for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever you're going through, if it's tough for you, it doesn't matter whether society believes it's a big thing or not. If it's tough for you, then honour where it's at for you.
Yeah.
And face it where it's at, not where society says it should be at.
Yeah.
And that'll actually help you face it because you're just being honest with it.
Yeah.
Even if you like stubbed your toe and it feels like the worst thing in the world, if that's what you feel like in the moment, honour that.
No one can tell you what your pain threshold is. Like,
exactly.
That's what it is. And your level 10 might be someone else's level 3.
Yeah, I feel
and
mine's...
there's no right or wrong.
No, I feel my pain threshold's actually got less as I've got older.
That's a good thing.
Well, no, it's not, because, like, you know, things hurt more. It's like, because, you know, I used to do competition fighting martial arts, you know, and obviously high pain threshold to get, you know, full contact and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And soccer, and not that that's a massively full contact sport, but when you play local Sunday leagues, it can be. It can be a bit brutal. But now, you know, it's like, I just don't like pain now because I've got a bit of sciatica at the moment. It's like, oh, couldn't it just go, you know, it feels like the worst thing in the world. And it's just, again, it's that, it's just sciatica, but it's fascinating that pain threshold, what it feels to you. And again, to me, I'm trying to figure out what the cause of it is. Mm-hmm. In other words, what's the emotional thing behind it? What's the lesson behind it?
Yeah. What's
it trying to teach me? And it's about moving forward in life, because it affects literally your legs and your ability to even sit still as well. So if you see me jiffling a lot on the video, that's why.
And it, like, emotions store in your body. We all know this. Well, hopefully we all know this. I don't know if everyone does know that.
Yeah, not everyone will. In general, there's a general consensus that yes, emotions store in the body, and for me the physical body is just a feedback system, like the warning lights in your car.
Yeah.
So when the light comes on, you don't change the bulb. You go and look in the engine, because the light attributes to a certain part of the engine. The human body is exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, there's a book out there by Louise L. Hay. There's also Ines Segal. They write books about what the emotions mean when your body's aching, what that actually means. So, you know, you've got lower back issues. It's normally financial or lack of support. You know, with your journey, not speaking up, that's why it came up in your throat. So, you know, you look at breast cancer, that's going to be about the heart or the lungs.
Yeah.
Or your sustenance of life.
It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating.
You look at them and they're so accurate.
Oh, yeah. Every single one of them. I actually had a friend here the other day, and we were, like, looking at the book that I've got, and she's got a few health issues, and we were, like, going through it, and she was like, oh my gosh, every single one of these is spot on. I was like, yep.
Yeah. And when you face the emotion, then your body you can let go of it when you understand why you've called upon that particular dis-ease, because it's you're not at ease, so you're the opposite. It's there to teach you something about yourself and about your life. And when you look at it that way, you don't buy into the pain so much, you don't buy into the drama so much, you don't buy into the victimness so much, and you're more in a positive mindset naturally by looking at it that way. Yeah,
and I just never wanted to be a victim. I feel like even when you tell people something and they're like, oh, I'm like, when I was telling people like, oh yeah, I've been diagnosed, I'm going through chemotherapy, or they would see it. And I was very transparent on social media. Like, I shared the whole journey because I wanted to bring light to it. And people's first response is, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, please don't pity me. As soon as you say, I'm so sorry, all you do is pity me and put me as a victim. And I'm not a victim. I'm a freaking warrior. Like, I will conquer this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think when we become more mindful of just how we say things as well, it's bloody powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, look. So, you know, our thoughts create our reality. Our words are the words that we use, that is the energy that we spell it out to the universe with. Mm-hmm. So, you know, definitely watch what you say. And for those that are watching and listening, an exercise for you, just take note of what you say over the next couple of days and really notice how positive, in the middle, or negative your words actually are, because it's amazing how much our self-talk is negative.
Yeah,
most people's self-talk is negative. I know it's a big generalised, but look, there is a movement out there now where, you know, people are becoming more aware of the words they say. In other words, the spells they speak. You know, spelling is still a thing. It's not just witches in the 1500s that did it. It's still spelling is still a thing. You know, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of, you know, with all the corruption and everything like that, they use that spelling against us.
Yeah.
Some of the words, the English words that mean different things. I mean, the most classic one, you think of like when you say good morning. Well, morning means death. When you mourn.
Yeah. Wow. I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah. So I've actually changed. I start saying good day. I've gone back to like the 1920s. Good day, sir. Good day. Doff my hat to you.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah. You know, I think if episode 8 of my podcast, Louise talks about saying the word blessings rather than blessings, I think. Yeah, because bliss is rather than bless.
Yeah.
You'd have to watch it because I can't remember the details. I just know she says good blessings. And I was like, wow, that's just such an awesome thing to say.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Another one I've noticed at the moment that I'm doing is sometimes when I'm explaining something that I do, I'll say, yeah, I'm still doing that. And then I realise, well, that's why it's not moving, because I'm still. So I catch myself and I'm starting to change, going, I'm continually doing that, or I'm moving forward doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of saying still.
Yeah.
And I was like, I catch myself going, wow, no wonder the stuff not moving. And it's, believe it or not, that one change of word is powerful.
Yeah.
Like one of the very first words I actually changed was the word hard. I changed it to challenging.
Yeah.
Because as a human, we tend to back away from something that's hard. But as you well know, you rise to a challenge. The only time I use the word hard is like, something that's dense. Like a physical object that's got density.
Yeah.
But ever since then, I'll use the word challenging.
Yeah, I love that. It's bloody powerful.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like that one word change can literally change your whole life. And then you notice it in your outer reality because your words and your mind create your reality and the outer reality reflects it back to you.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like I've just gone for my second follow-ups a few weeks back before I moved up here, and they were like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? We need to study you because this is ridiculous how quickly you're recovering. The fact that you're back working out 6 days a week, the fact that you're so healthy, the fact that you don't have neuropathy, the fact that everything's back. Like, no TMI here. Like, my period's back because that was suppressed through it and all of those things. And I was like, you don't need to study me. It's literally your mindset.
Yeah, and I left the work I was in.
Yeah.
Don't work at this company and have a positive mindset. Those are the two things. It doesn't need much study.
Yeah, and not even necessarily the company. Like, I think when you know that you're being treated poorly, if you feel like you're not in a position to stand up and actually say something, then stand up and walk out.
Yeah, and look, and because of COVID and everything, and loads of people got let go because they wouldn't take the poison. There's so many, like every shop I go into, we need staff because during COVID they sacked everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's on you. Because, going against, forcing a mandate that's not a law and going against people's free will and choice and on limited data, which all the ones that said don't do it are now being proved very correct.
Yeah.
I'm one of the I told you so brigade. I've not said it to anybody yet, but, just quietly in the background. Well, hey. But then again, I'm psychic, so,
yeah,
I can say that.
Yeah. And I mean, I was in Victoria, so life in Victoria was challenging. We basically everything was taken away from us. And
dictator done.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a joyous time.
Yeah, but even that in itself, like, we chose to live in those areas during that time, and there's lessons in that as well.
Yeah.
So there's lessons of like, well, to take your freedom away, how free are you still? Are you going to allow an outside force to control your freedom, or are you going to be free anyway?
Yeah.
I've spent a little bit of time I'll say 32 hours in cells. During that time, I was opening portals, I was Reiki in the whole building. I was going, I might be in a physical cage, but you can't cage my energy. You can't cage my abilities.
Yeah.
You can't cage my love for helping people. And it was a quiet night.
Yeah.
It was an unusual quiet night. I know why it was a quiet night. Because I was lying there because I was bored. I found something to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say that because, we made the choice to stay in Melbourne. We had planned to actually move up here to the Gold Coast, I think after the first year of COVID. And then I got a job at this company.
So now we're getting into the real reasons of why Renae ended up with cancer.
And, I mean, my first boss, who I was hired from, phenomenal. Absolutely incredible. One of the most incredible human beings I've ever met in my life. Absolute gentleman. I've got all the time in the world for him. He's great. And, we made the choice to stay because I got this job opportunity, and 5 months into it, he decided to leave. because he saw the toxicity in the workplace.
Yeah, you're all the time in the world for him, but he didn't tell you that. I'll pick a bone with him for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, mate. You could have told me.
I know. I do joke to him now because we still stay in contact, and I'm like, oh, you should have warned me. I mean, ultimately, it was my choice, though, to stay there.
Yeah, we always do the best we can with the tools we have in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was a bit of like financial security because I knew that we were planning on moving to the coast. You know, at the end of the year, it was always in the plan to move to the coast.
Yeah, there's so many people emigrating to the Gold Coast from Melbourne at the moment. And I say emigrating because it's about that distance. It's just these, you know, if you did that in Europe, you'd be emigrating to a different country. That just Australia's that big.
Yeah, well, my partner's originally from Perth, so he's going a whole lot longer than me.
Most isolated city in the world in regards to distance compared to any other city it's near.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's just like one of those things. We got out of the last lockdown, our final lockdown number 5. And I remember the day so clearly. Like, I can tell you what I ate that day. I can tell you everything. And
well, you didn't have anything else to do but count what you're eating. And there was nothing else better to do when you're in lockdown for that many times.
Well, the thing is, right, so everything's very ironic in it. And maybe not ironic, everything.
Yeah, no, this is a working theory of mine that's quite accurate because they say love's the most powerful force in the universe and gratitude's second. No, it's not. Irony is the second most powerful force in the universe because the universe and spirit or God, whoever works with irony. Mm-hmm. Everything we do, paradox is an irony.
Yeah. So the week before that, the mandate was happening and it was basically like you get the vaccine or you lose your job. And I basically had said, I don't want it. Can I work from home? And I was told that if I was to work from home, then my hours would be cut back to half. And I would obviously then lose half my paycheck. And financially, like that seemed really scary, to be honest. It seemed really, really scary to lose half my income. And so I actually went to the doctor and I was talking about all of these things and they were like, look, take a week off on stress leave. And so I did. And on the Friday, the last day of my stress leave, was when we got out of lockdown. And I went to, it's not even a beach, I'll call it a bay because Melbourne doesn't have beaches.
Which one? So you used to live in Melbourne?
Port Melbourne.
Oh, Port, yeah, there's no beach at Port Melbourne.
No, it's a bay.
I think there's a tiny bit of beach near the pier that you can walk along, but
it's not
the place you really want to hang out with.
No, and yeah, I was there and all day, like I could feel this like tickle in my throat, and that was the day that the lump appeared, and so it appeared on the last day of my stress leave, and I went back to work on the Monday, and I think it was on the Monday, and I was like, look, I have to go to a specialist. Like, I've had all these, like, these lumps appeared in my throat. My boss was kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, no worries, like, whatever you got to do. And to be honest, they were probably the most words that he'd spoken to me in a long time. I sat next to his office, and he'd say hello to me once a week, even though I was his PA.
Jeez, well, that is, yes, toxic.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's a presumption. I don't know the guy, you know. You don't know what's going on in his head and why he's that way. You've got to give him a bit of empathy.
Yeah, well, he's not there anymore.
Because the thing is, when people act that way, because we're not born that way.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going on in their home life. And because, you know, I've been there. I've been in that situation where I don't want to talk to anybody because I've got that much stress going on in my life or that much emotional turmoil that was taking all my energy to deal with. So to even be pleasant, I didn't have the capacity for that bit of energy. And when you look at like all the issues around men's mental health, you know, the suicide statistics are just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Like something like 78% of people that commit suicide are men. And that's global. That's not just Australia, that's global.
Yeah.
That statistic is global. And so what a lot of people didn't realise, 2 days ago was International Men's Day. Nobody talks about it. And it's not even recognised by the United Nations. So they don't recognise a day for half of the world's population because it's not politically correct.
Yeah. International Women's Day is celebrated and is like non-binary.
Yeah.
Like all of that.
All that, yeah. Well, it's International Men's Day is celebrated, but it's not recognised by the United Nations. But it's nobody knows about it. Like, and there's a lot of men's groups out there that didn't even put any posts about international. And I only found out about it because, ironically, irony, there was a lady on TikTok talking about it.
Yeah, I actually saw it because one of the mutual people that we know, he actually posted it on his socials. And I was like, oh, like, good on him for sharing that, you know.
And this is the interesting thing. Like, there's all this push for equality, but that equality soon gets forgotten when we want our part to be equal with it. Well, you've got your International Day. Why can't we have ours? Oh, well, you're a man. You're not allowed that. Yeah,
and I think it takes away from the masculinity of it. Like, I think that when you allow men to actually be masculine, men can also be gentle masculine, and men can be protective masculine.
Yeah, look, and this is the thing. Like, this toxic masculinity word has just got bandied about. It's just a buzzword. And you watch some of these videos where people say, well, what actually is toxic masculinity? And the people that are asking haven't got a freaking clue.
Yeah.
And they'll just come up with all these banded words from their own opinion, which is nothing to do with what they realise it is. And then they start trying to, quote stats. Well, there's disparity and pay gap, which you watch Jordan P. Peterson, and he's proved that wrong over and over and over and time again, that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because it's not that it doesn't exist, it's more because it's an impossible thing to monitor as an equal way, because we're all very different people and we do things differently. And like, I think it's something like 99% of bricklayers are men. So where's the call to get women into bricklaying for 50%?
Well, into any construction.
Yeah, and that's it. And most, I think something like 85% of engineers are men, and all these things, it's all very male dominated. And the only reason they go for the pay gap is going, well, you've got these really rich men at the top of the chain, and they've got all the money. I'm like, yeah, so you're doing all this pay gap based on 5 people, which when you then bring it down to the street, doesn't work. Yeah. So this equality thing, I mean, it's just political warfare for separation, divide and conquer.
And I think just humans need to be humans. Like, just treat everyone as humans.
Yeah, look, for me in the moment, I'll just say, look, get rid of all these international days. Let's have none. Then it's equal.
Yeah.
And if you want to celebrate a woman on the day, do it. Buy some flowers.
Yeah, just celebrate people.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. An International People Day.
Yeah.
Make it 365 days a year.
How great would that be?
And 366 on a leap year. But yeah, exactly. Like, it's so many ridiculous things really that create division.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just one example.
Yeah. And I like the fact that there's proponents out there for men's health that are women, and there's proponents out there for women's health that are men. Those are the ones that know what they're talking about, because they tend to find that those are the ones that have got all the stats, have done all the research. I mean, I've only listened to some bits, but some of the reading that Jordan Peterson has done, no wonder he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think I watched a video where someone was coming at him about Nazism, and he says, well, I've read books over I've been 4 years and 4 decades of reading books about it. I know it better than he didn't say better than anybody, but he says, I know it inside out.
Yeah.
And he knew it better than the person trying to call him on that it exists and this, that and the other. And that's the thing. He does his research.
Yeah.
But he's so concise, and so the amount of times you watch someone trying to goad him and he doesn't buy into it and then flips it around and, well, actually that's not the case kind of thing. It's brilliant to watch.
Yeah.
It's entertainment.
And just be open to learn. Like, there's no harm in learning or reading or exploring.
Yeah, we've all got our own opinions.
Yeah. And you're so entitled to that.
Yeah, and you with your illness.
Yeah.
You've got your opinion around cancer and how to defeat it. And your auntie was different.
Yeah.
Your grandma was the same.
Yeah. And not everyone has that opinion, and that's so fine. Again, there's no right or wrong. I just chose the path that was best for me.
Yeah. And if you choose a different path where you make it darker, then that's the best path for you too.
Yeah. And there's a lesson in that too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The powerful lessons are hidden in the dark. Shadow work, as I term it.
Yeah.
Shadow work's a bit more welcome these days.
Mean, again, like, as I said, I still saw, like, I was still in the trenches. I still fought the war. And I don't know if you've heard the saying, and I think it's really beautiful, the only way to see the stars at night is for it to be dark.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, look, and it's kind of like it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
That as well.
And it's so beautiful. Like, Yeah, there's beauty in the darkness.
Like in some of the energy work I've done in healing capacities, some of the most profound things have been through shadow work, where you're delving people into their darkness, so that and then when they get realizations and get aha moments, and you look at see their face change, and that realization that there was a bit of information there that had never figured out before, that had been hidden right under their nose, and that's eternally grateful. Yet you've delved into their, for me, it's obvious your cancer was connected to work.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah. And we were talking before we came on and started recording, because I asked you, like, was it always in me? Was it always destined that I would, have cancer in my life at one point?
Yeah, so here's a trigger point. Well, it will be a trigger point for some people, but I work on a soul contract where we choose everything. Our whole life is predestined to a certain degree, free will a lot of the time. So we have our life purpose, which our life purpose is simply to be us. Spoiler alert, it's just to become you, your best version of you. And then you've got your life mission. So my mission involves all the psychic work, because I was gifted with all the abilities and work hard at evolving them. Yes, I'm naturally gifted, but I also work at it as well. Daily mantras, meditation, all the things, and I'm all learning about them and playing with them when things open. So it's a 24/7 thing for me, pretty much.
Yeah.
So even when I get woken up at like 3 a.m, I'm like, okay, what am I going to be woken up for? I'm not grumping. I'm not tiny bit of griping because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. But I'm like, okay, what's this about?
Yeah.
And straight away, I'm tuned in, going, why am I being woken up at 3? It's not because I need the toilet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's our mission, and that's predetermined before we come down here. And then you've got minor things that's probably a bit of free will. But if they interfere with your mission and your purpose and your mission overrule.
Yeah. And I always said I always wanted to make an impact, and I always wanted to – my dream destination is to be a keynote speaker. I really want to speak on stage.
Yeah.
It's my absolute dream.
You and me both.
And, yeah, I just think, like, before it happened – I was playing small, to be honest, and it was kind of like, all right, well, you want this huge dream and desire. I'm going to give you something to talk about, because the universe knew that I would not shut up about it.
Yeah, and I could totally see you on stage teaching people mindset, because you've got a really powerful.
Thank you.
Well, you think about it, like you defeat cancer in a year with mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people have done that.
Yeah, it's pretty epic.
That's really going to inspire people.
Yeah.
My message, I want to get out there. I want people to work with their intuitive mind, to move beyond their logic, because the world is an intuitive place, and we use our logic mind, and that's why we get frustrated and stressed, because we can't see what's really going on, which is why I said to you, as soon as you started talking about how your cancer came back, to me, it was absolutely obvious how it came about.
Yeah.
But I have so many instances in my life where for years I used to get frustrated with people. Like, why can't you see? Why can't you see it? It's obvious. And then it actually took one day. I think one of my friends went, maybe only you can see it that way.
Yeah.
And the look at my eyes and the dominoes, and just went, yeah, I never thought about that before. Wow. And then I stopped getting stressed and frustrated at people. I still do a little bit, but not to the same level. And then further instances happened where I'm having to start saying now, going, right, in this thing that's happening right now, am I the only one that can see that? And invariably I get, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's good to know, because now I need to explain it, of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I've often got, how do you see that? I was born that way. That's why I thought everyone else could do it, because it was just so natural for me growing up that I can see things in such a way. I can see it's like Neo, I can see the Matrix.
Yeah, I think it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, because we was talking about stuff before we started the podcast about how I see the world. And
it's so cool. And, yeah, it was like this really... because we've just done NLP together as well, and it's it was so beautiful to see you speak up after there was this really beautiful women's moment, like a women's circle.
Oh wow, the sacred birthing ceremony. Wow, that was powerful.
Yeah, and to hear what you had said after that session, and when you raised your hands and you shared your gifts in that, I was just like, like, that is so beautiful. Like, what a beautiful thing to be able to offer people.
Yeah, so to give people a context, what happened is there was a lady, struggling to conceive, and then in the flow of the course, it all went energetical, and it was really just beautiful, harmonic, like angelic thing going on with all the ladies in the crowd, and it was very energetical. And so I was very respectful, because I'm like, well, this is a woman's thing. I'm staying out of this. But my team just went, no, you've got permission to get involved. So I was like, okay, so what do you want me to do? And they said, call the soul forward. So, because I'm a soul medium as well, because I work on people's soul contract, there's many different facets to my mediumship abilities. And and I called the soul forward from, saying, okay, right, if you're gonna have a child, there's a soul there waiting.
Yeah.
And there was another guy in the crowd that he brought I think he brought the egg. He did something energetic as well, and then together we sort of like, yeah, and it just felt so. I felt so honoured, and I've since spoken to that woman during a session, and the soul was talking to me again.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of nagging, going, yeah, I'm coming, just chill, have patience. I'm ready. I'm ready. Just you've got to be ready.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful moment, and one of the things when you go through chemotherapy is they give you another injection. So you don't just get chemo, you get pumped with every single thing possible, because they need to keep your immunity strong, even though they're killing it. And they need to, if you're a female, they suppress your ovaries. So they give you another injection, which basically calms your ovaries so you don't ovulate. And in my case, my specialist was like, I believe that you're going to be okay. Like, I done an egg retrieval beforehand. And it was very, very successful. And he was like, I believe that everything's going to be okay. We're just doing this for in case. And some people never get their period back, and I did. And in that moment of that healing session, watching that, obviously, if you were there, it was just, it was so beautiful. And I'm like bawling my eyes out throughout that.
Yeah, it was profound. Like, just to witness it as a guy, it was just like, whoa.
Yeah. And, all the women were like so connected. And at one point I had put my hand on my tummy, and I just know that we'll be able to conceive naturally. I just can feel it, that we'll have that.
I'll talk to you after the show.
Okay.
I'll do some tuning in stuff, because I seem to be doing a lot of stuff around conception at the moment. Yeah. Calling in souls and speaking to babies still in the womb. That was another mediumship that started during the course as well. I got sat next to a lady that was pregnant, and then I had a conversation with her unborn baby. That was kind of cool.
Wow.
Because again, the way I looked at it is like, I gave her so much information around how they knew the sex. So it was like how he wanted to be, how he wanted to be raised. How invaluable is that information?
That's unreal.
That she already knows how to initially raise her child. So he's well developed, because he's a gifted healer. Yeah. Because of the way his hands were. And she showed me a couple of pictures saying, look, he's definitely. And this was after the course, saying how his hands were always up like a healer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's kind of hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, it's so beautiful. And I think, again, that's one thing that people fear when they have to go through a treatment, especially as a female. It's really scary, because so many females, their dream is to become a mum. Like, again, it's this thing that when you grow up, you're like, one day I'm going to be a mum. And for me, that was definitely my reality. And again, when they said, okay, well, we believe that you'll be able to, we're just doing this in case, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it like as a backup plan. I know I'm not going to use it. And it's a beautiful gift that I will be able to give to somebody else when I don't need them.
No, that's awesome. That's it. Yeah, and look, with your mindset, I don't think your partner will have a say in it.
Yeah, no.
This is happening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and it's great because, like, I have the most beautiful, supportive partner, and he had a great mindset through it too. And he never came from a place of fear either. He was like, I know you've got this.
Yeah, he knows you well.
Yeah, so it was, it's just a beautiful thing.
No, that's awesome. And so what's next? What's next on the, because obviously you're going to start making inroads to be keynote and public speaking, but what's in between?
Yeah, so I do quite a bit of stuff with like the Leukemia Foundation in terms of raising positive awareness around it, and that the journey doesn't have to be dark. And so I do some stuff like that. I run my own podcast. I do coaching as well. So I coach people through emotional wellness especially through medical trauma, because I think that's important to release that.
That's your expertise.
Yep. And it comes from a place of I've been there.
Yeah, that's it. And look, it's easy to be an expert because you've just got to be one step ahead of the person behind you on the journey.
And I just want to show people that it doesn't have to be dark. So doing that, as I said, my dream is, one, to be a mum and also to be a keynote speaker. And I just keep putting myself out there and I just keep raising awareness around it and showing people the light and that it's so damn possible.
Everything's possible. Because I'm sure plenty of people have heard this, but I'm possible is spelt I'm possible. Impossible is spelt I'm possible.
Yeah.
Again, another great irony.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. My long-term vision is to open up wellness centres for people in remission, again, to help them heal holistically and to come back to self and to come back to love.
The interesting thing is, if you've been down the rabbit holes, you know about med beds, none of that might be needed.
Maybe.
Yeah. So the med beds that are coming out are all light. I think there's 3 types: light, tachyon, and sound. That if you've seen the film Elysium, those kinds of things, where that little girl lays on it, you just go zoom, and then everything's better.
Wow.
Heals everything at the DNA level.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. Which, look, back, long ago, back in technology like that was around long before, there's so much technology that was around tens of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
We weren't cavemen like we're led to believe. Far from it.
Well, too, the other thing is, look at back then, like people weren't getting illnesses like they are today. Stress levels were not high. Mental health was not high. The quality of food was better. Like the world that we live in now has been so
toxified.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, our food is not food.
And so, it's just make small, sustainable changes.
Well, that's all. If you're strong enough, make big ones. Make big ones.
Just go all in.
Go all in, yeah. Life's there to be gone all in, don't hold back on anything.
Yeah.
Obviously figure it out a little bit first, but if you're not sure whether to do it or not, do it.
Yeah, and I just think one of my biggest things is one, life happens for you, not to you. That was my biggest mantra throughout treatment. I was like, life happens for you, not to you. And I truly believed it because I never acted like a victim. And the other thing is the only way to fail is by not trying. Yeah,
you definitely fail if you don't try.
And I'm just not up for that.
Yeah, and for me, because I work at soul contract level a lot, I definitely know life is happening for you.
Mm-hmm.
You've chosen it for a start. It's your fault, everything. And that's the first thing I take people to go, right, what are you going through? Right, if you're playing victim, no, you can't. And then I explain soul contract, and pretty much every time because I'm good at helping people make sense of that, they go, okay, then I'll take responsibility. Yeah. That's the first step to getting beyond any illness is taking responsibility of it.
Absolutely.
Because while you're still blaming another thing for it, you're keeping it outside of you.
Yeah.
And the illness is literally inside of you.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is correct, but energetically you just set that out to the world, and so things just keep happening and you continue to stay in the cycle of being a victim because what you put out, you attract. Yeah.
Well, you'll keep getting shown other victims, and it's like if you want to move beyond it. But again, it's your choice. If this is just my observation, and I've worked with quite a few people on the cancer journey, in that there's only ever 2 reasons behind cancer at the top level, and that it's either your end date, which is there to teach you a powerful lesson.
Oh yeah.
And you got, yours is the second one.
Absolutely.
Learn to speak up. But the thing is, if you hadn't have had that lesson, maybe you wouldn't be a good keynote speaker.
I've always been a speaker, and it's always been my dream to be a speaker.
Yeah.
I think it gave me the drive to actually action it.
Yeah. And that's it.
Because I've always said I wanted to do it, where this was the moment where well, you say you want to do it, so go and do it.
My road to being public speaking is doing this podcast.
Yeah.
That's step 1.
Mm-hmm.
Getting comfortable speaking to lots of people. I mean, look, I've inadvertently done public speaking in the past, and it's like a fish to water. To me, I was just on stage and I just loved it without any practice, without any prep.
Yeah.
Last minute notice. I was given 10 minutes at a gala event. just because I was talking to a lady the night before, and she says, "Oh, I like the way you can come on stage with me tomorrow." I didn't even realise she was one of the keynote speakers.
Wow.
And then I spoke to her the next day, and I said, "Oh, was you drunk last night?" She went, "No, I'll talk for a bit, then I'll introduce you. And you can have 10 minutes."
Yeah.
And
Well, one of the things that when we were in the room, in this meditation part of it, we'd done so many things. I'm not even going to give it all away. And there was one moment, and I was going through this journey of my life, and it started as a kid, and I went all the way up, and I like crossed this river, and I saw like my partner and these two little kids. And again, we'll talk about this after because I don't know how right it is. And they were like, "Come, come, come." And I crossed the river to them, and then they were gone. And I walked out on stage, and the crowd went wild, and I was just like, "Hello." And I'm like waving to them. And if you can see on the video, I'm like, "Hi." It was so beautiful, and it felt so real. And I was like, this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah. Sometimes, look, in meditation, we can be given prophecy. And in dreams, we get given prophecy.
Yeah, it was so cool, and it felt so real. And I just feel like it's going to be one of those things exactly like I done during my treatment. When the time comes, I'll be like, I've been here.
When you're many, many years practice psychic, you can get prophecy while you're driving, prophecy while you're in the shower. They don't leave you alone. Yeah. And I've signed up for that, so I've got to take ownership for it. I'm never alone. I'm never alone. Ever. Yeah. Ever. Like, there's always someone tapping me on the shoulder. Because I physically feel, when spirit around, I'd physically get tapped on the shoulder.
Yeah, wow.
Or jabbed in the ribs, depending on if it's one of the guide and they want to get my attention. My dad popped in the other day, which was nice, because he passed this year. But because interesting enough, I was watching Top Gear, the new lot, not Clarkson and that, but the other lot. And the episode was about, they was driving all their dad's cars and reminiscing about that. And I was like, oh, what was the name of my dad's first car? I could picture the car, and I knew the model, but I couldn't remember who made it.
Yeah.
And then about 3 minutes later, there was this voice that definitely wasn't an inner voice or my memory. And it was just like my dad going, yeah, it was a Hillman Minx. I was like, oh, that's right.
Wow.
So I was like, thanks, Dad. That saved me thinking about that, earworm, as they call. And then I remembered, my memory came up. I was like, oh, that's right, it was called Lucy. Then the very next day when I was driving, a car goes past me, and on the number plate was Lucy.
Wow.
Yeah. And these things happen all the time for me. It's just synchronicity, and this is the matrix.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And I see it 90% of the time I'm seeing this stuff. Mm-hmm. And when you're not used to it, it's like, oh, synchronicity. I'm like, yeah, it's normal.
Yeah.
But that's just because I see it all the time and that much. It is normal for me. Mm-hmm. Synchronicity is a normal thing for me.
Yeah. Well, when we drove, so we left Melbourne a week ago, and the whole drive here, so we drove for 3 days, and for, I think it was 6 days straight.
Did you get lost?
No.
Because it's only like a 2-day drive from Melbourne to the Gold Coast.
Oh, we stopped overnight.
6 days, like, geez,
no.
Did you drive past the Gold Coast?
The 6 days, like for 6 days, I saw like 10, 10, 11, 11, and then 12, 12, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Every single day. And I kept pointing it out. I'd like say to my partner, Sam, I was like, look. He's like, oh my God, what is going on? I was like, I don't know, but look, we're guided. We're doing the right thing. This is perfect. We're meant to be where we're going.
Yeah, so I know all about what the travel numbers are. The 1010 one's an interesting one though, because not many people talk about that one. And that's to do with the dragons.
Really?
Yeah, and when you're channeling dragons, it comes straight through the throat. Interestingly enough.
Wow. That's so crazy. Well, my little brain's just exploding.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Because I've worked with the dragons ages ago, and it's like when you channel dragons, it's like you got a revolving door around your throat chakra. So it sort of overrules the human throat chakra, and it comes verbatim.
Mm-hmm. Right, because I see 1010 all the time.
Yeah, that's dragon stuff.
Wow.
You love dragons?
No, not really. But my brother did growing up. Okay. I always used to buy my brother dragons for Christmas. Okay. Always. Like those little statue-y things every Christmas.
Yeah, okay. So you're connected then.
And I shouldn't say he's my favourite brother. He's one of my best friends.
You're allowed to have favourite brothers.
Yeah, like we're definitely, when we grew up, we were definitely the closest.
No coincidences.
Yeah. That's so interesting to know. I did wonder what the 1010 was because, again, no one talks about it.
Yeah, because there are other versions of what 1010 is about there. But for me, in my experience, it was the dragon.
Yeah, right. Wow. So
Whereas,
cool.
like, I actually see the name of my dragon. They don't do the 1010 anymore. I see their name. It's normally my sister dragon that comes in. Her name's Ivy.
Yep.
And so I'll see the name Ivy, start seeing the name Ivy everywhere. I'm like, okay, you're around. What's going on? So they use number plates so much.
Yeah.
It's efficient because they can spell things out, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I actually do workshops on teaching people how to see the matrix and then how to interpret what you see. And it's fascinating that so many things. The very first workshop I ran, that lady that I spoke about that I did the energy healing with and cleared the gallstones.
Yeah.
So we went for a walk, you know, did the thing, and then we do a meditation and go, right, you got to ask a question, then we go for a walk. And at the end of it, and I said, I'll help you interpret what you see. And she says, well, I didn't see anything. I said, well, you must have seen something. And she said, well, the only thing I saw was a pile of crap. And I said, well, okay, so did you stand in it? No. So that means there's going to be some crap coming into your life and you're going to avoid it. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, she rang me and went, oh, that thing, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my gosh.
This happened and I avoided the crap. I'm like, well, see.
Wow.
So even crap can be a message.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Everything. Because the thing is, the matrix is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, everything, when spirit want to, can be used as a message. So another one I ran, a lady just found a twig, a slightly broken twig that had almost like bent into a T shape.
Yeah.
And she went, this is all that I found. So, and I says, I don't know how to interpret that. So I got it and I went, oh, have you got a little like Yorkshire Terrier type dog? Or no, Highland Terrier type dog? She went, yeah. How did you know that? I says, because I can see it in the twig. And then I gave her this 5-minute reading from this small little broken twig that was about like this big.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Everything's energy. And I can read energy. Like I've started party tricks now where I'll find something.
Tricks.
Well, I start just like after the NLP course, we went for dinner.
Yeah.
I read a girl's mint leaf that night.
Oh, really?
Did a relationship reading on a mint leaf, and then it became that's then become a thing. And since then, I read someone's bottle top the other week. She just bought, you know, we caught up for lunch because we're doing a healing event together. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, again, I went, everything's energy. I can read anything. Like I can read that bottle top. Mm-hmm. And I did.
Wow.
I said, all you got to do is hold it, ask a question, I'll be able to read it. What was the one in between those two? There was something else that I read as well. But yeah, it's just because everything's energy.
Yeah.
I just like to challenge myself for fun in the moment.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What a good party trick.
Oh, that's right. Cause like,
so unique too.
Yeah. And when I was on, so there's going to be a lady called Elise that's going to be on a future episode. I was on her podcast, and after the show, I read her hair clip.
What?
Yeah, so you know, like the big thick ones
yeah.
that have got like the grips like that. Yeah. Just for a laugh, I said, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I read a hair clip.
Oh my goodness.
Everything's energy. And that's my gift. Everything's energy, so I can read anything. As long as you put your intention onto it.
I just imagine and obviously you're so used to this and this is your life and you know how to balance it, if that's the right word. I feel like my head would just be spinning all the time.
Mm. It took years of practice to be able to be, because I'm always on. Mm-hmm. I know there's plenty of people in the spiritual industry that switch off at the end of the day and then they do mantras or whatever in the morning to switch back on. I don't. Mm-hmm. I'm always in. Because I just find it easy, because it's like, if I'm always on and they want to drop something in the moment, there's none of this, hang on a minute, just let me meditate for 5 minutes, let me pull over because I can't do it while I'm driving. I can get information 24/7, which is so efficient.
Yeah.
So if I bump into someone in the street and needs a message, they don't need to have this kind of like, well, hang on a minute, Roy, just go over there, meditate for 5 minutes or close your eyes down. It's just like, it just comes in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's on. In you go.
And do you see the good and the bad?
Well, there's nothing bad technically.
Okay.
Because everything has a purpose.
Yeah, okay.
So even demons, entities, all those kinds of things, so people often talk about positive guides, but they don't talk about negative ones, but we're in a universe of duality.
Yeah.
So when you've got, so interesting enough, like you were guided to do that, go to that job.
Yeah.
That would have been a negative guide. Because
Right.
your positive guides can't guide you into shadow, but a negative guide, because that's the negative guide's realm, it's shadow realm.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you if you'd guided to buy a lottery ticket, that'll be a positive guide. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's the literal angel on one shoulder, devil on the other. We all have a negative guide.
At the time, though, it felt like such a positive thing to do, and it was positive for the first 5 months.
Yeah, but the energy knew what was coming.
Bastards.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I call my spirit lot bastards all the time. I've got to deal with them that when big things happen, if I'm gonna bitch, they allow me 10 minutes of a bitch.
Yeah.
And then I've just got to learn the lesson.
Yeah.
It's like, right, you finished? Yeah. Good. You're going to learn a lesson now? Yeah.
I love that. I think that's just important for life.
Yeah. You know, I've got to have my release going, oh, you fuckers.
Yeah. Well, you have to.
Yeah.
And then move on.
Because it's so abstract.
Mm-hmm.
You might think it's this thing, and I've got very good at knowing what the things are, what lessons are coming. But they can, if they don't want me to know, they'll hide it, disguise it, be bastards about it. And that's the positive lot, you know. That's not the negative points. That's the positive lot can be just as much douches. But we do have good humour with them, though. Yeah. And that's the thing I love about it. Like, a lot of people may not realise that working with your spirit guides all the time, there's a lot of humour as well. Mm-hmm. They can be piss-taking bastards. Mine not can anyway. I don't know about anyone else's. I can only speak from my own experience.
You're right. You've built that relationship now. They know they can do it.
Yeah, there's got to be humour.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now my dad's in spirit, it's even more. Because he was just that way. He was born on April Fool's Day, so.
Oh gosh.
But he was a very jovial man. Yeah, he was a very jovial man up until the end.
Oh, I love that. Amazing.
You know, I'd say I miss him, but I spoke to him the other day.
Which is what a gift in itself.
Yeah, and that's the gift I can give to other people. It's like,
yeah,
because me personally, when it comes to the mediumship stuff, I'm not one for saying yes, they love you, because I mean that's just an obvious statement. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, if you passed on family members going to come through, then they're going to come through with an important message that's beneficial for your life. Yeah. Otherwise, no point in playing. Mm-hmm. No point in saying something you already know. Yeah. To me, that doesn't even show that I'm gifted. That's just me guessing something that's pretty much correct. Yeah, they passed on, they love you. Yeah, don't need to be gifted for that. Yeah. But then when I'm pinging something that there's no way on earth I could know. I mean, again, watch episode 5 around the 45 to 50 minute mark. Okay. On episode 5, when this girl's grandma comes in, and I say, "Did she wear a bangle?" And just see her reaction, because she talks for a little bit, and then her brain catches up to what I just said, and just the look on her face, and she's just like, "How did you know that?" I could literally feel her grandma putting a bangle on my wrist. Wow. And then so I physically feel these sensations, and then I tune into the energy of it, and then I get the picture of what it is.
Wow. Again, my head just explodes.
Yeah. And to me it's normal,
so
but
cool.
I often forget that it's not normal for others. I mean, there's plenty of mediums out there, but we all do it slightly differently. Yeah.
And do you believe that people are just born with the gift, or can people learn it?
If it's part of your life's mission, you'll be born with it. Okay. And again, depend on what your mission is and how that comes about. You might not be born with it and then learn it, because it's all part of how the mission is set up. Yeah. Most people I talk to are born gifted, and then they do the process. They get shut down and then have to reactivate them, whereas I just let them hum in the background. I never shut down. Yeah. And that was just part of my purpose, which, thinking off the top of my head, I've never really realised this, is probably why I can always be switched on. Yeah. Because I never actually switched it off anyway.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, fascinating.
It's so interesting. Gosh, I could just talk about it for hours and hours and hours.
So can I. But what we'll do on that note, we'll actually end the show. So again, I look forward to you on the next show. There's another episode coming out tomorrow. I'm not sure when this one will be aired, probably by the end of the week, depending on if I can get to the editing and all that kind of stuff. And I look forward to you watching the next show on YouTube, listen to it on Spotify. I'm also on Apple Podcasts now, because I've got that sorted. Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podvine's another one. There's so many that this podcast goes out on. So it's there for all to hear, and on YouTube, there for all to see. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next episode.